Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad y'all are here. And so, like Josh mentioned, my name is Marcy May, and my colleague here, Chris Hollingsworth, we're going to be sharing a few things today to help you kind of lead yourself, maybe change your attitude on some things. And we welcome any questions, put them in the chat box. Feel free to turn your mic on. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Chris.
Good morning. We wanted to find out what you're hoping to get from this session. When you heard the title and a little bit of the summary, what brought you to our session? You can put it in the chat box, you can unmute yourself, but we'd like to hear from you. Yeah, I see from Liz, developing self-confidence and willpower. Yes, definitely. I hope that you will, what we share with you today will help you in that area, that you'll have a path for being able to develop more self-confidence and more willpower.
Oh yeah, I also see another comment, Josh, a way to advocate for yourself. Good.
Yes.
Perfect.
Identifying strengths, good, yeah. So what comes to mind when you think of leading yourself? Is it the same as some of the things you put in the chat box already that you're hoping to get, or is it something more?
Okay, self-confidence, good, advocating, finding out more. Oh, showcasing your leadership, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Good, and guys, feel free to also unmute, it's okay. We love conversation and we love discussions. And so I hope you feel comfortable enough to go ahead and do that.
And there's some really great comments there in the chat box, Marcy, if you haven't seen them.
Oh yeah, leadership, holding myself accountable. That's something I think we all struggle with sometimes at some point. Empowerment, good. Understanding your own strengths and weaknesses in different situations. Perfect. Being responsible. Yeah.
Taking responsibility for yourself and for your actions, that's huge. Yeah.
Oh, good. Ambition, leadership style. Yeah.
How to help other people with their own confidence.
Good. Empowering others. Yeah, I saw that somewhere else too.
Better life decisions. Oh, good. Yeah, we're getting some good responses here. Thanks, guys, for sharing that.
We hope that we'll be able to address most of that for you today. So our learning objectives for this session are identifying personal strengths, developing a personal vision, and then identifying how to apply your personal strengths to capitalize on your personal vision. And so you may not know it, but some of those things that you put in the chat box could be your personal vision. And so we're going to come back to that in a minute, but don't forget what you put in the chat box because you may want to use that a little bit later today.
Okay, and so Josh, I'm going to ask you to put up our first poll question. And so I would like to take a quick poll. How familiar are you with a growth and a fixed mindset, right? I know a little bit, I know some, I've heard about it, but don't understand. I've never heard of it, of a fixed or a growth mindset. Okay, we're getting some answers here. Give you maybe a few more minutes, or not minutes, but maybe another minute to go ahead and answer that question.
Good. I'm glad to see that some of you have been hearing a little bit about fixed and growth mindsets before. I think that it's a really helpful and enabling concept to understand.
Okay, so now that we've kind of taken a pre-poll to see where we're at, looks like most everybody, right, has heard of it, but maybe not fully understanding it or maybe wanting to know more. And so to see where you are on the growth mindset spectrum, Chris is going to put a link in the chat box. Awesome, Liz. Okay, so hopefully, right, Liz, at the end, you will, right? This is why you're here. Marissa says same. Nice. Okay, so sounds like maybe a few of you are finishing up. And so as you finish up, right? And as you jot down, right, what your growth mindset was, where you were on the spectrum, and know that we're all in different places. And so we're going to watch a quick video of Carol Dweck. She's kind of the pioneer on growth mindset. And so we're going to hear a little bit from her about what that means.
Hey, Marcy, before you move on, would you mind taking it to the previous slide again?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. It just occurred to me that there was something that I was thinking about what I think it was Liz. Was it Liz said that she wasn't feeling like she was a powerhouse as far as growth mindset is concerned. And when you look at this slide, it's indicating that there's a spectrum, right? And that we can be anywhere on this spectrum between less of a growth mindset or more of a growth mindset on many places within our lives. So maybe in school, we feel like we're more growth mindset minded, but maybe in other aspects, maybe at work or with our families or stuff like that, that we find that we fall more towards fixed mindset, or maybe the opposite. And so when you take that survey, it could also depend on the context in which you're thinking of those concepts and those questions.
Good, good. Okay, so let's watch this quick video.
All right, so we want to know, what are your thoughts about the ideas presented by Dr. Dweck in this video? I saw that Todd left a comment about the idea of not having grades, but rather not yet as the quote unquote grade. And I have to agree with you. I think I would prefer that too. So we want you to take a minute or two and just jot down your thoughts. You can do this on your device. You can use a piece of paper, but just quietly reflect what your thoughts are about where you're at on the growth mindset spectrum. If you agree with the results on the survey, or if you think that there are areas where maybe you fall into fixed mindset. And then also, where would you like to be on the spectrum? Yes, and the one thing that you may not realize is that fear or focus on grades is actually within the fixed mindset, towards the fixed mindset end of the spectrum. And so the way that perhaps the school system, or the way that you're raised, or we've been raised, does point us more towards that fixed mindset spectrum.
Oh yeah, Rowan, I like that idea, right? Giving yourself that grade, giving yourself the grade of not yet. That's a great point. I wanted to share a few things with you guys, right? What does a fixed mindset look like for you? And I can tell you for myself, right? Just like Dr. Dweck said in the video, right? Not getting an A for me meant I wasn't doing well, or I wasn't smart, or, you know, like I didn't learn anything, right? And so I saw this most prominently when it came to math, right? I had this idea that I couldn't do math. I wasn't good at it because I could never get an A in math, right? All of my math grades were not A's, right? Sometimes barely passing. And I had this mindset where I just hated it. And it just kind of set me up for probably some failures that I could have avoided, right? And so I wanted to now ask you, right, share a little bit about maybe what a fixed mindset looks like for you in your life, or where you might think you have a fixed mindset. And you can feel free to annotate. So there's some annotation tools. Josh, do you know how they can locate those if they don't see those?
If you hover your mouse at the top of your screen, then you'll see view options that will show up with a little down arrow. And when you click on that, you'll be able to scroll down and see annotate. So you can click on annotate, and then a little annotation box will pop up where you can use the text box or the draw feature and put some thoughts on this on the screen that Marcy's sharing with you. Couple of thoughts for you. Sometimes where I see fixed mindset show up in my class or even in my own head are things like, I'm a failure, I can't do this, it's too hard, I must not be smart enough, I'll never be good enough. And then Marcy mentioned getting an A. I have to get an A in this class. And so those can be indicators of fixed mindset. So what does it look like for you when it shows up?
Fixing anything that 5-year-old can't. Somebody put in the chat, success is far away. I'm not perfect. I think of that too. Like I'm not going to do it if I can't do it perfectly. You have to get an A. Yeah, procrastinating, and in procrastination, right? That can be a symptom, right? You procrastinate because, right, maybe for whatever reason you don't think you can do it, or you know you're not going to be able to do it.
Jacqueline said that you're too old to do it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I hadn't thought of that one. Yeah.
You just made me realize that sometimes I say that. Not being patient with yourself. If you get a B, great, wonderful, great examples. Thank you, everybody, for sharing those with us.
Right.
Everything has to be scheduled, and that's right. I get stuck in that too. If it's not scheduled, I can't do it. I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, Brooke sent me a message. Jacqueline said that you've tried it before and failed.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Then we go to the past and we start thinking about, well, I've seen this happen to me before, and so therefore it's going to happen again. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I had a really fixed mindset in high school. Now it's like every now and then I still kind of do, but not as bad as it was.
Me too. And I think that that's something that I find hope in, that I can change, that I can make progress towards where I want to be. Yeah. So I ran across a strategy that I hope will help you. This link you can find in the resources so that you can learn more about it, and that you can also, this person, Brooke Castillo, is a life coach, and she has a podcast. And so I found that listening to her podcasts are really, really helpful to help me start changing my mindset more towards a growth mindset. But she developed this model that helps us to kind of understand what we're doing to ourselves with the thoughts that we have. And so she says that there's always a circumstance. So a circumstance can be registered for a certain class. For example, Marcy and I are registered for a statistics class this semester. We're in the adult education PhD program at Texas State together. And so this semester we had to take a statistics class. And the funny thing is that we're both science focused, as far as Marcy teaches pharmacy technology and I teach biology and microbiology. And so the stereotype, you would think that we would both be really good at math, and yet we both find ourselves feeling rather uncomfortable with math and having more of a fixed mindset in that area. And so the circumstance is that we are registered for a statistics class. The thoughts that we have about, or that I had about the statistics class when I registered for it, is I'm not good at math. The last time I took a statistics class, I didn't really understand all of the concepts. So looking back at the past, right? I don't know if I'm smart enough for this, okay? And so when I have those thoughts, it then brings feelings of inadequacy, dread, anxiety, fear of failure, resentment. And then if I'm not careful, those feelings can lead to actions of procrastination, not really trying to understand what's going on, just doing the best to sort of muddle through. And it could lead to assignments being turned in late, things like that. And so what do I do about this? How can I change this? And so what Brooke Castillo teaches is that when you start having those feelings, when you start feeling things like resentment or fear, anxiety, the first thing you need to do is recognize what are the thoughts that you're having. And sometimes it can be difficult to uncover the thoughts that you're having. But once you can really discover the core of the thought, then you can recognize why you're having the feelings that you're having. And so if you want to change your actions and the results, you go back to your thoughts and you think, well, what thought would I like to have instead? Okay, so as I was thinking about this statistics class, I thought, well, here I am, I'm finding myself in fixed mindset, and I really want to approach it from a growth mindset. Okay, and so I want to, I registered for the class and I'm in this program because I want to learn. All right, and so when I change my thoughts to, I really want to learn and I am capable, then it changes how I feel and it helps give me a little bit more confidence. And it also changes the way I end up acting in the class. So if I really want to learn, it means that I'm going to ask questions in class. And if I really want to learn, then I'm going to make sure that I make enough time for myself to work through the lessons and activities that are required by the class.
And so when you have, right, thought about your growth mindset, what did you tell yourself? How did you reframe that? What are some of the things?
Yeah, so the question is, the fixed mindset thought that you identified, how can you reframe it into more of a growth mindset that would be helpful for you?
Yeah, so somebody put, right, it's your first attempt.
And it's impossible what would versus what would make this possible. And yeah, when you change it and reframe it that way, what would make this possible, all of a sudden it feels empowering.
Oh yeah, remembering your self-worth and what you bring, right? Going back to reminding yourself, like, you know, I've done this, I have done it. This is where I've done it before and I can do it again.
It's an opportunity to do better. Yeah. This time I'm going to approach it a different way and see if it works better for me. Yeah, and Clover says some learning curves are steeper than others, and that's for sure. And so some of them require a little bit different or more persistence or more effort. And the thing is that we often compare ourselves with other people and their abilities in that area, and we don't see where they struggle. So if someone's really good, say at statistics, and I'm not as good at statistics, then I start to allow myself to feel really dumb, right? But if I instead think, I can do this, and it might take me more time than it takes this other person, and that's okay. That's more empowering than saying I must not be smart enough.
Yeah, I like what Sheila put in here. Am I using my energy well, right? Stressing over an A, is that time well spent? So often I like to reframe that like, okay, in 6 months, is this really going to matter? In a year, right? Is that really going to matter if I don't make an A?
But instead, I was there to learn, and I did learn, right? And I did my best to learn what I could.
And that goes along with what Liz put in the chat. Also, We have a couple others. Reflect on my own achievements. Perfect. Evaluate where you failed. Yeah, how can we change that? How can we pivot?
All right. I think we need to
Probably move on. Yes.
We need to move on.
Thank you everybody for sharing those reframing. And so I've seen a couple of comments already in the resources, or about the resources. And so the resources we did provide you with, we'll talk about them in a second. But when you think about how you reframed your question and how you were able to move on, what was helpful for you? Like, did you call on somebody? Did you have, a specific place you went to, or what did that look like for you? How did you learn that? What did you draw on? What was available to you? And you can put that in the chat, or you can write it on the whiteboard here. Did you have people helping you, maybe modeling some things for you when you were having trouble studying? Somebody put in there, we learn from our mistakes, ask for help. Somebody you trust. Walking, I like it. Meditation, grounding techniques. Asking a classmate, perfect. Good. And so, like I mentioned before, the resources that did come in your packet, they are, this is hosted by ACC. And so what we provided were some resources that ACC has available to the students. Academic coaches, right? When maybe you feel stuck, you could call on them. They're here to help you maybe with the overwhelm that you might feel sometimes, getting your schedule straight. They have tips and tricks for you. And then also, right, sometimes we get stuck, right? Because something happens, something unexpected happens, and we think, how am I going to do this, or how am I going to pay for this? And so there are financial resources available to you. And I know some of y'all are attending from other colleges, maybe, and I encourage you, right, go to your college website and to look and see, right, they have a student page. And so check out some of the resources that they have. Many of the colleges have the same things, right? Tutoring, a learning lab, right? Computer lab that you may have access to, and academic advisors, right? They're all there to help you succeed while you're in college.
Marcy, there's a question in the chat box. It's, what's the difference between academic coaches and advisors?
And so the academic advisor is really there to help you plan your courses, right, based on your major. And so they can give you ideas like, okay, this is what you need, and this is the sequence we suggest. The coach, right, will help you, maybe if you're having trouble with time management, or using a planner, or maybe some of that test anxiety that we feel sometimes. That's what the academic coaches are there for.
All right, so now's the time that you get to think about what is your personal vision. And so the way that I define a personal vision is what future success looks like for me. A personal vision, you want to have it be something that can help give you direction as you're striving to empower yourself, to lead yourself. So an example of my personal vision, as we were talking about that statistics class and this PhD program that I'm registered in, when I was in high school, and also when I first entered college the first time, I thought that future success looked like straight A's, and anything less was defined as failure, just as some of you have mentioned as well. And so when I started this PhD program about 1.5 years ago, I decided that this time for me, future success was leaning into personal growth, a willingness to learn from mistakes, and to spend less time focused on grades and more time focused on learning. And then of course, completing the PhD program. And I've found that that has really helped me. It's helped me a lot. And when I start to feel that anxiety of, oh no, what about my grade? I have my personal vision that I can lean into and say, no, that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I'm going to learn, and I'm here because I don't know how to do this. And so, and it's not expected that I know this yet. And so the only way to learn it is to try. So now we'd like you to take a few minutes and write down your personal vision. What does future success look like for you? Thanks, April.
Yeah, I see that. Success to me looks like when I accomplish the goals I set for myself.
So Liz is asking for a few examples. Marcy, do you have one that you can share as far as your vision of success?
I can share personally, right, for myself. Earlier I shared, right, my hate of math, doing math homework. It scared me because I fell into the category of, right, I wanted to be perfect, and that's where I wasn't perfect. And so if I wasn't perfect, I wasn't going to try it or do it. And so, you know, I was a science major and it's math heavy. And so I had to, in order to get the degree, right, because that was my goal. I wanted to get my college degree. And so in order to do that, I had to get through these courses. And so finally, about my junior year in college, I went through this after 4 semesters of calculus that I barely made it through. I had to take what they quantitative analysis course, which is all math, right, and chemistry. And I was able to get through it. I knew more than I thought. And so in that time, success meant, right, that I finally, that I had learned something, right? Even though I didn't get an A, that I learned, I was able to do it, and I was able to finally finish my degree. And so it was a growth period, right? And a realization that it didn't need to be perfect, and that, right, I could have success was defined how I wanted to define it and not how somebody else defined it.
Thanks, Marcy. There's some really fantastic comments in the chat box too. Gloria says, to me, success is to become who I want to become. And I love that because it's because we're all in progress, right? And so oftentimes we get pressured by people in society to know who we want to be or what we're going to become. And we don't know the answers, and it's okay because we're in progress all the time. And so in the end, success can be really just continuing to move forward and making progress towards the person that we hope that we can be someday. That and that might be kind and compassionate, caring about the people around you and loving people. It might be it can be a whole range of things, having a job that is fulfilling to you, that a way that you can contribute to the world. It can be whatever it is that you most desire.
Oh yeah, I love what Sarah put in the chat, being active in your community and empowering others, right, through compassionate leadership. I love that. Getting out of your comfort zone. I tell that to my students all the time. You have to get out of your comfort zone. And I know better than anybody, right? Getting out of that comfort zone, but that's where we learn the best lessons sometimes. And it's a learning process for sure. I love what KJ said, my success is inner peace, right? I love that, being at peace with yourself. accomplishing something. So then how can we get there, right? We have these ideas we have, right? Sounds like y'all have been doing this already, right? And so maybe you haven't realized it, or maybe now you're thinking about it, you're reflecting. Okay, so what did I do? What did I do to get there? What steps am I doing daily, right? To put that into action, right? How do I not get so overwhelmed and into that fixed mindset? And when I do get into that fixed mindset, what are those steps that you take that gets you there, that gets you over that hump? What does that look like in your daily life? So for me, right, daily things, sometimes I have to remind myself, like, it's okay that I'm not perfect. I'm doing it. Setting a schedule, right? Writing down the things I need to do. Those are my action steps. Somebody says, taking the time to reflect, right? What you can do tomorrow, being present. Everyone makes mistakes. It's normal. Yeah, we're not all perfect. Just concentrating on thinking about the results. Visualizing. I love that. Breaking big goals down into smaller, realistic goals, right? Setting up your schedule. What can I do today, right, that can help me meet my ultimate goal? Great. Thanks for sharing that. Oh yeah, Jacqueline put keep showing up. For sure.
That is really important.
For sure.
I think about how, we watch children, especially babies and toddlers, when they're trying to walk, that they fall down a lot, and we don't go, oh, you're so stupid, right? We go, it's okay, keep trying, right? And we should be doing the same thing for ourselves, caring and compassionate in the same way with ourselves.
Oh yeah, I love what Theta put there, a vision board. Good. Yeah, and I like that quote too, Natalie, right? And it kind of goes back to, okay, what can I do today? What can I do today to meet my ultimate goal? What little task can I get done, right? And so when we think about our thoughts and, right, keeping that growth mindset, because, right, you may see fixed mindset in certain aspects of your life, but a growth mindset in other aspects. And so where you find yourself stuck, right, what can we tell ourselves? Instead of giving up, I am going to, or I will do what? What does that look like for you? And so for me, right, it's okay, I'm going to write my to-do list and maybe try to break some of this down into smaller bites. I'm going to remind myself, right, I can do this. I've done it before. I've been doing this. What does that look like for you? What else have you been doing for yourself to keep it going, right? To change those thoughts. Reflect on how far you've come, one day at a time with your goal in mind. And you will get there, right? And sometimes we have to adjust our goals just based on what's been going on, right? Yeah, gratitude, right? That'll help change.
That reminds me, just in case you're looking for a new podcast, there's a fun one that I've been listening to called The Happiness Lab. And it's a psychology professor from Harvard that puts it on. And one of the things she talks about is a gratitude journal.
Trying to push yourself to do better instead of laying around. Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for sharing, right? I hope you were able to use this time to reflect and maybe really think about, okay, I can do this, and I have been doing this.
We're glad that you came today, and we hope that we're able to help you out a little bit. And please feel free to reach out, because we would love to continue a conversation with you in the future.